Hello. The maxim here at Enterprise TV is leave no stone unturned and leave no turn unstoned. So we go there. Government by subterfuge. National Labour Congress, NLC. The leadership slams President Tinubu for a so-called fresh hike in PMS price per litre. Now, students of government and diplomacy are taught about the dynamics of governance, which include subterfuge and control. It's common knowledge, therefore, that governments around the world use subterfuge and sometimes misinformation just to control their citizens. Their existence depends largely on these elements. The old expression, when the people are afraid of the government, it's known as control by fear. When the government fears the people, it is called democracy, comes to mind here. So much about the copious preamble. At close to 64 years of independence, Nigeria is in a very bad place. Faith in government is waning, even as government seemingly bears its fangs. A so-called mother of all protest is planned for October 1st, and government cannot sleep pretty. The latest bombshell is the one dropped by the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC leadership. Of course, its president, Joe Ajaero, says President Bola Tinubu has betrayed Labour and by extension Nigerians. According to him, a price hike in the premium model spirit across the country, that's per litre, plus its scarcity are traumatic and nightmarish. To Ajaero, the act betrays the camaraderie that enveloped the resolution of the minimum wage debacle. The citizenry is caught in the crossfire. What could we possibly do next? Methinks the answer is to cure the cause and not the effect. So let's broach the subject matter. Two discussants are at our beck and call, so we meet and greet them. Cyril Abaku, the broadcaster communications expert, has agreed to join us again. So we say, welcome, Cyril.
Thank you.
And we are joined remotely, so to speak, by Barrister Evans Ofeli, who is a constitutional attorney and a political affairs commentator. Barrister Ofeli, I greet you. Welcome.
Very well. Good morning.
Okay then. Yeah, gentlemen, Cyril, beginning with you. Looks like we are not tired of this back and forth regarding management of the energy crisis.
Well, that is only to the extent that we have energy to waste on the energy crisis.
We have energy to waste on the crisis, energy crisis, yeah.
And frankly speaking, it is dissipating. Because the NLC...
Enervating, as the white man said.
Yes, very enervating. The NLC has its own fault, frankly speaking. And the federal government also has its own fault. For the NLC, in my opinion, the NLC's fault is somewhat ideological or strategy-based. Whereas for government, I would like to think it's a moral failure. So let's go there. Government and the NLC reached an agreement, from what we now understand, that Labour will, and I think that much was pretty made public, that Labour should accept 70,000 naira as minimum wage, and that in good faith, government will not increase the pump price of petrol. But therein is the question. Is it in a purportedly deregulated economy? Should we back it on government not to increase the price of petrol? Because if we are deregulated in truth, the price of petrol becomes subject to fluctuations, subject to demand and supply forces, market forces. So for you to be relying on government not to increase the price of petrol, it only goes to show that you are either ignorant of basic economics or you walk yourself into a trap willy-nilly. So to that extent, I blame Labour for willingly and, of their own volition walking into this sort of mess. That is on one. On the other hand, we understand that the Nigerian economy is never what it is said to be. Yes, it takes on different definitions. For example, are we market driven? Are we public sector driven? On account, you could say yes. On account again, you could say no. Are we socialist? Are we capitalist? Are we mixed economy? Today we are mixed, tomorrow we are capitalist, tomorrow we are something else. So, in principle, the NNPC has been turned into a liability company. It is no longer the regulator of the sector, in quotes. It is now also a profit-seeking player in the market.
And supposedly quoted in the stock exchange.
Well, now there is another problem. Who are the owners of the NNPC? The Federal Ministry of Finance and Petroleum, which means that the NNPC is still largely government owned. Now, on account, and because the NNPC has been the sole importer of petrol, we and I were here on this table last week discussing how government was saying that they are going to clamp down on petrol stations selling fuel at 8,900. And we are saying that because there's 8,000 naira, and the markets are saying that they are buying petrol from depots at 850, and at that let them talk show that they sell at 1,000 naira. We were discussing this here last week, and we said that the NNPC could not become a judge and a stakeholder in its own case. Long story short, the NLC had believed that since government was running some kind of RNG system in which they are the regulators, they are the sole importers, they are the monopoly, they are the marketers. In that case, NLC took it for granted that government's word will be government's word. But now, minimum wage may be agreed to. Implementation, neither here nor there. Well, we're trying to find our feet to know where we're even going. And then, so the government shouldn't say that they've not increased. Government has increased the price of petrol. Not all increases are formally communicated.
Cyril, I beg to differ, because the rebuttal has come. It has not increased anything. Barrister Ofeli, after listening to Cyril, you get the impression we are between a rock and a hard place. And neither of the two of them is okay for us. But again, that we are toying with an energy crisis must be revolting to you, right?
Very revolting, because you just said now that the government have reported the assertion that
the claim that it has because I do not, the NNPCL says it has not increased anything.
Yes, the NNPC have said it has not increased anything, but I dare say that there's a technical increase or there's a circumstantial increase. The fact that NNPC have failed to make the products available in the country have led to scarcity. And scarcity by its nature in the law of demand and supply means that price will rise. Okay, so if there's no official document stating that they've increased it to 800 naira plus, there's a circumstantial increase because of their failure to make the product available to the people. The NNPC have repeatedly shown us that they are incapable of managing this whole thing. When we signed up to TIA, we thought that by now there will be reasonable stability in the energy sector of the country. But there is no such stability, because the TIA made us understand that NNPC is not a player when it became a limited liability company. But we just realize now that NNPC is not a player and still a regulator. Still a regulator. The player is one that comes out today to say that they declare profit, and the next day it comes out to say that it's accepted. It comes out to tell you that the mothership cannot meet daughtership because of thunder and lightning. And the worst part of it is that NNPC have no spokesman. Anybody can speak about the whole thing. One other time, one of the leaders of the NNPC came out and said that the NNPC have never paid their subsidy for the past 9 years. That what they have been paying is shortfall on the recovery and the rest of that. So NNPC has shown us that they have not, and besides, it's in the news. It was in the news yesterday that they've increased the price. So if they come out today to say they've not increased the price, so what have they done? Are we buying it?
Yeah,
Are we buying
it was. Yeah, it was in the news.
Right.
Evans, you just said it was in the news. But are we sure of the source of the story? Yeah, because just before we came on air, Cyril and I, okay, put it this way: are you not scandalized that in this scarcity, which is man-made, there are some folks who indulge in a so-called black market, selling fuel, even in front of a petrol station where you find kilometers of cars queuing up? Aren't you scandalized?
I am because the people have contributed, but you know that the people didn't start the scarcity. The scarcity gave birth to that shenanigan. Okay, the scarcity of logistics, the inability of energy to put down logistics.
Scarcity, yeah, but where do the guys? How do the guys get the petrol to sell at their so-called black market, which is an evil market?
They are getting it from the filling station,
of course, yeah.
market,
of course,
which can be described as sabotage. Okay, but when you look at offense, offense you have to look at it holistically. There are certain offenses that are not possible except someone has failed in his responsibility. Okay? These guys don't sell well on the filling station or along the road every time. But it's seasonal. It only happens when NNPC have failed majorly in their responsibility to have these products distributed across. When each time we slope into this clinical crisis, then these people will take these jerry cans and the filling station will hold part of it and people will queue. Then they will sell it through those jerry cans because people are desperate to move around. So if NNPC have not have guarded against this, these people who are selling the jerry cans will not have any reason. So the truth is that it boils down to the lack of the proper administration of the energy sector of this country, which NNPC champions. Now NNPC have not only become a behemoth, it has also become a crisis of itself, because remember now that he has assumed the role of a judge in his own case. Okay, he's now a player and a regulator, and at the same time, he's going to be a sole distributor very soon of the Dangote product that's coming from Dangote is about to roll out.
Yeah.
NNPC, because of 7.5% shareholding, has now developed. Has now become a monster.
NNPC at that level, the NNPCL believes it has a stake, don't you think?
Yeah, it has a stake now, but it's not. We shouldn't have that, because if we have that, what it will mean is that we will now reduce the whole situation of having an independent refinery or an indigenous refinery back to where we were coming from, because all the bureaucracy that is being created, because now you are creating a wholesaler, retailer, and consumer relationship here. In which case, price will jack up again back to where you were importing it from. Because now, if NNPCs take everything undertake all Dangote's products, to now sell to independent marketers. Independent marketers will now sell to retailers, as the owners of the filling station. Then those owners of the filling station will now sell to both those who are carrying their can to resell and end users. So at the end of the day, you have created another chain of shenanigans. So this crisis may linger longer than we think it is. And if anybody is saying that there is no increment, the person has not woken up to the reality of the fact that there is circumstantial, or what they call.
All right, thank you. We'll get back to you, Cyril. There was a vague reference to government labor, what you might call buck passing. The president of the NLC is accusing government of subterfuge. Government by trickery and so on. But it's a two-way street. Didn't you see the what do you call it? The pictures when labor and government supposedly won the war over a minimum wage. So where is the discomfort coming from?
In fact, they won the war, and then what followed was that the labor. I recall vividly, Joe Ajero, and his men. They are saying three Boza.
They are Luta people. Three Boza to Mr. President.
Boza like that. And then Ajero said that having already secured 70,000 naira, it was double of the prevailing wage at the time. That 70,000 naira was double of what was being paid at the time.
More than 100%
yes,
increase.
And that they were more than happy, and that was a step in the right direction, and that it was a sign of better things to come. Eventually, they left at 70,000 naira. Well, like I said earlier, where I blame Labour was that they should not have. I mean, they should have known better. They should have been the wiser for it. They should have known that the dynamics and the indicators didn't in any way point to a scenario in which government will shield them.
Or that the 70,000 benchmark was a great gift.
Arguably, because I recall last year when Mele Kyari said famously, he said that they after Buhari had gone to unveil the refinery. Yes, I remember Mele Kyari saying that even
you mean the Dangote
refinery? He said even if Dangote started rolling out petrol, that it wouldn't lead to a reduction in the pump price of petrol. He said it, and we were wondering. We said
where he was coming from.
Since when did Mele Kyari become the spokesman of Dangote in an economy that has been truly, frankly speaking, someone like Kyari should have been put on trial and sent to jail, because the NNPC, particularly under the leadership, has become the major what's the word now? Destroyer of the Nigerian economy. The NNPC appears to be running a Scotch Act policy to say anything that any party they have behind it should go to blazes. But the question is, what is giving the NNPC the boldness and the temerity to constantly be the one that plays spoiler for an economy that otherwise, because normally we have Nigeria we're oil rich, right? We're resource rich. When we produce what we have naturally here, we should be able to afford it easily and cheaply. It is when you want to sell to earn foreign exchange that the price goes up, because it becomes your comparative advantage. But in Nigeria here, our petrol is scarce. I can assure you that with what we're seeing now, NNPC stations yesterday were selling petrol at 855 and 897. Now, even the government didn't authorize them. How did they? Who gave the order? It will Lagos to sell in Lagos, in Abuja, we also sell in Abuja. Then the IOCs, Mobile and the big the big marketers,
the big players,
we are now selling. Of course, they can sell at the same price with the supplier. They were now selling at higher the cost, and none of them have even thought it was necessary to build refineries in Nigeria. So if the NNPC was serious about saying that minister didn't authorize, they should have gone to arrest people who are selling at that exorbitant price, because it was for the whole day and even till today. So we are working on a very dangerous slope. What we should have done is to say NNPC should not be the one buying I agree with Baisofeli. You wanted to buy 20% of the stake, you didn't buy. Now 7.5, you say you want to buy everything the man is producing. What does that even mean? So what's happening to the
mathematics is that
what they are fighting for? Let me put this on record. What they are fighting for is this: they have artificially hiked the price of petrol. We see that. Then they've pegged down and held it so that when Dangote produces, he will not sell at a lower cost. They will now still buy up everything he has produced and control the price. Is price control still does not seem like a deregulated economy?
All right, let's get back to Barrister Ofeli. You're still there with us. Thank you.
Very well.
Yeah. Let me come from this tangent. The PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act, when it came, maybe bystanders like us thought it was a silver bullet, kind of. But the PIA seemingly is here, and we're in this man-made mess. Don't you foresee an energy crisis in the near future, regardless of the PIA?
Yes, we're already in energy. I predicted this some time ago last week, that Nigeria is going to be in energy crisis, and that is exactly where we are today. The PIA gave the responsibility for regulation, took it away from NNPC, and gave it to the DPR. There used to be DPR, which now, I can't remember the name again. I gave regulatory function to that body. That body is still functional.
I think the DPR is now the upstream, midstream regulatory commission or something.
Regulatory commission, yes. But the NNPC have usurped that authority from that institution, and it's now determining importation. It determines price. It determines whether the product is available or not, because it's the sole importer. Okay. So at the end of the day, there's monopoly here, and the NNPC is bent on telling Nigerians a lot of complications. It's not possible in accounting for you to declare profit and turn around and then they say you are indebted. That's not a balance. You can't have that. It's possible. Okay? So the energy crisis that is created by NNPC is the one that can only be solved by the presidency. And what should the presidency do? Is to take decisive action, fire those who need to be fired in the NNPC, okay? And make sure that we get hold to the directors of that company. Who are the directors of NNPC? Who are the shareholders? It's not the same government, because the NNPC has taken the form of a limited liability company on paper, but in reality, its shareholders are unknown. Okay, its directors are practically not visible. In law, there's what they call unveiling, when you take off the veil of incorporation, that is when you get to see the faces of those who actually own the company. So in case of criminality, or the company has committed an offense, or if the company is involved in any kind of dispute of like what I've seen now, lack of transparency and accountability and the rest of that, we take off the veil of incorporation. If the veil of incorporation is taken off by law, who are the faces? What are the faces of those who are putting Nigerians in this energy crisis? Those are the people that the federal government need to deal with. And, give us what they call redemption. Bring us to where we were before these people came to disrupt this whole thing. It is the president that will do that. And the president has to do that as quickly as possible before things get out of hand. Whether you like it or not, whether that rumor was true or false, it has influenced the way fuel was sold to be yesterday and today, and through this week. There are filling stations you will go to tell them that no, the NNPC has debunked it, that they don't increase the price. They will tell you that it's not true, that they read it in the newspaper. Okay, they read it in the newspaper that they have increased the price. Even when the president came out and said that the subsidy is gone, that same day, all the filling stations that have fuel, they lock up their place. The next day they started selling at a different rate entirely, just by that pronouncement. So whether the information was false or true, the influence is there. That is the cost price people are selling as we speak. And for those who are selling through black market and carrying jerrycan, they will tell you that the cost price is now 800 and something, and that they have to add their own on top. So for those who are legally consulted to sell and those who are not legally consulted to sell, everybody has jacked up the price, and the product is still not available. So what are we talking about? Well, the crisis can only be solved by the presidency, and they have to do that now.
All right. Cyril, let's begin to plod our way home. Mr. President is the substantive Minister of Petroleum Resources. Yes. So the propriety or otherwise of having a separate Minister of Petroleum Resources is not here. Mr. President has to apply the big stick. You see him doing that?
I don't.
More so when he is a player in the business.
Yeah, but our president isn't one for wielding the big stick at certain levels. We haven't seen him do it. Otherwise, Mele Kyari should have been eased out of office a long time ago. And then we begin the process of sanitizing the NNPC. But our president isn't a man in that mood. Yeah, so I don't see him doing much. And I would be surprised to believe that everything that has unfolded without his notice, then that would be even more egregious. Because as Mr. Petroleum, I expect that he is the one in charge. He is the one man. If his lieutenants can act without his knowledge, then I mean that would be really tragic. I just hope that this whole fuel queues go away. The NNPC began by saying they were owing 3 trillion. First they said no subsidy has been paid in the past 9 years, which was a lie. Later they said that they had made profit worth 3 trillion and spent everything again, which means it was paper profit. Next they said that they were owing $6 billion, which meant that they couldn't continue. All kinds of things. Which means they knew what was coming and they were setting the stage for what happened yesterday. Mr. President will need to overhaul these guys and then be personally willing to make things work and get those who can make it work for him. Until he does that, I'm sorry, I have to believe that he's well aware of what's going on.
All right. Bryce Ofili, we must begin to apply the brakes here. But can you take it home by looking at the subterfuge element, which the NLC is accusing government of indulging in? And of course, I said earlier in my opener, we have to cure the cause and not the effect. How do you take it home?
Because every manifestation of both good or evil have a cause and effect. But the cause comes before the effect. Okay? So the Joe Ajaro's allegation against the federal government, for me, is not unfounded. It's not unfounded because even if the federal government come and say we have not officially, by their conduct they have improved. There is what they call offense by conduct. Offense can either be committed, cannot be by commission or omission. Okay? So in this case, the federal government is culpable of omission. Omission in making sure that there is availability for there not to be crisis. Okay? So that omission is punishable. So I will not say that Joe Ajero is out of place. He's saying the right thing. They had a meeting with the government. They fixed the price, the national minimum wage on the basis of certain terms and conditions. Okay? Now, part of the terms and conditions have been breached by the federal government even before implementation. And that is what he's saying, that there should be another process to that effect, because the federal government ought to have been guarded, ought to have put things in place to ensure that all agreements they have with bodies, institutions and all that are kept, and the fidelity of that to be the concern of the federal government. But they have not done that. Now they allow their loose NNPC, that is roaming all over the place and making comments and statements. No caution, no punishment, no sack. Nobody. So in all those omissions, the federal government is hereby found culpable, for not applying, force where it ought to do that, thereby obliterating the agreement it had with labor. So labor should go ahead and commence whatever it is they want to comment, because it is clear that the federal government has breached some of the industrial agreements that reached with labor not too long ago.
Okay. Cyril, how do you bury this?
I just hope that we find sense out of this no sense situation. And yes, and restore some level of believability in our system. That we are where we are in spite of what we have is a matter of deep regret. Mr. President, on whose table the buck stops, must call his lieutenants to order and get them to do the right things.
Yeah, but seriously, but do you remember the words of the late President Ronald Reagan to Gorbachev, President Gorbachev of Russia?
Yes.
The line simple, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Yes.
Do we see somebody tearing down this wall?
Mr. President, tear down this corruption. Yes.
Because he can.
Of course, because he can, and he's been empowered by law to do so. It's the least we could ask for.
All right. Barrister Ofeli, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Yeah. And Cyril Abaku, we cannot thank you enough.
It's a pleasure.
Until the next time. So the debate continues, gentlemen. Government by subterfuge. I'm told every government around the world must protect itself. Labor's business is to fight for the citizens. So can we have a thin line between government and labor, which will be to the advantage of the citizens? Don't forget, we stone every turn, and we stone every turn, and what's the
yeah, so we leave no stone unturned and turn no stone. Yeah.
We leave no stone unturned, and we leave no turn unstoned.
Yeah.
We must stone everything. That's the essence of TV. So thank you for your time. On behalf of the Backroom Boys, I'm saying take care. Bye-bye now.